Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing an interesting game that was played on the Fox Go server. At the time of this video recording was the day before. I'm not sure when this video will be out, but I believe it would be the 4th of December when this game was played on Fox. And it's between two pretty famous Go professionals, Choi Jeong and Choi Jeong. I'm sure if you've studied pro games or watched pro games, those are two very prominent names in their own right. Choi Jeong from China, former world champion, former #1 player, super strong. Choi Jeong, #1 female player, or maybe not right now, but at least former #1 and definitely still in the higher echelon, the upper echelon. And I believe earlier this year was in the finals of a world championship. I can't remember if it was this year or the year before, but got to the world championships finals of a huge international Go tournament. So very strong players, two very strong players. And I didn't realize how much these two players have actually played on Fox. They've played, I believe, like 70 times, which is pretty cool that they seem to like to or just happen to play each other a lot. But yeah, before I even get into any of the moves, usually when I make these interesting game reviews, it's like, okay, I'm reviewing this game because there's maybe some interesting moves in a fight, interesting shapes, maybe an interesting position comes up. This game is interesting because of how chaotic it starts out and continues throughout basically most of the game. And so it's a pretty fun game to look at and review. And I'll try my best to kind of see if I can understand what they're trying to do and try to put that into words so you can try to understand as well. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Choi Jeong is black and Choi Jeong is white. So the first 4 moves, very interesting. No, first 4 moves, standard. First 6 moves are standard. Black attaches and white ignores by attaching here. Let me there we go. By attaching on the outside, which is a little substandard, but then black squeezes like this, or clamps. And I've seen this move before, but again, it's very rare. It's very, very rare. I'd be surprised, or I wouldn't be surprised if one of you watching this video has seen this clamp before. And because the normal moves you would play, like in a normal joseki, like if white goes here, and they do something else, like let's say they do this joseki, you would think about D4, right? Or in this case, D2 doesn't quite work, but maybe in this case, D2 works a little better. A little better. So basically, D4 and D2 are the moves you think about. I'm not really sure if you're ever taught about E3. So it's very cool to see this in a top professional game. Obviously, just on a Go server, it's a professional game, but nonetheless, they are top professionals playing it. So black clamps. White stands up and pushes through, and black hanes. And then white cuts. So again, stop for a second. What do you think black does here? Because it looks like it's dire that you need to play C2, right? You play C2, white's going to take. And the fact that you got 3 moves there unanswered, and this is a result, doesn't seem that great, right? But black had a plan. Black extends. And the idea with this extension is, okay, you can cut here, but do you know where black's going to play? Whether black D1s or not, black's going to get this squeeze like this. So yeah, and it's definitely better if this works. It's just that white, for the sake of argument, white not continue. But let's say you're going to get this kind of squeeze. You can see whether white pushes first, this squeeze is going to be very painful for white, because white's not even alive yet. And even if you just let white capture 2 stones, we can just tell black's thickness is going to be worth a lot more. It's going to be worth a lot more. Yeah. So that's why in the game, white knows this, of course. So white turns, and then black's able to connect. So obviously a much better result compared to this. White just Ataris, and now how is white going to continue? Well, white just goes elsewhere, and this will kind of be the theme for almost the first half of the game. And I say this in a lot of my videos, and it is true, but to be a strong Go player, you need to be stubborn. And what I mean by that is, if your opponent's trying to get you to play somewhere, don't, basically. You have to basically play where you want to play as much as possible. Do not follow your opponent around. Yeah, just try not to follow your opponent around is the major thing. And we'll see that. So white continues up top. On the upper left, black approaches, white answers, and then black ignores, and white ignores, plays on the bottom, saying, okay, black, you didn't answer me, so I'm going to get my follow-up. And black says, okay, you can have that. So black plays R11. White says, okay, let me play again on the bottom. And the idea with N3 as opposed to O3, the very slight differences, but they are differences, is when you play O3, this kind of move now becomes Sente. Because if you try to do something else, say you try to attack, black's going to be able to Hane and then hanging connection. And now black's either going to cut at N3 or live at R3. So you would have to play some move like this. So the basic idea is, if you go here, technically this move, I guess, is still Sente, but your follow-up's slightly better. It's better to have the stone, whereas that here compared to here is the general idea. Of course, there are other moves black can play, but that's the general idea, is white's going to get a little extra by playing at N3. Of course, since you're not taking away liberty from P3, though, this stone still has all 4 liberty, so it has a lot of potential. A lot of Aji, I should say. But yeah, and then black plays R8. And R8 is a very unusual move at first glance, but once you start to dissect it, it makes a lot of sense. Because when you look at this board, and you look at the sides of the board, this is obviously the smallest side here, right? Black is fighting over just 5 lines here, but that's clearly more than 5. This is clearly more than 5, and the left is almost double that. So why does black choose to play R8 here? Well, there's a few reasons why. One, let's say black does pick one of the other places. Let's say black cuts here. That's not small. Well, when white plays R9 like this kind of spells trouble for black, because you really have 2 options here to defend. If you jump up to build the upper right, there's still really bad Aji when white comes in at R13, because R13 has a connection to R9. This is a very famous shape where you're able to attach under, and if black cuts, you're able to connect and break through black's 1 space jump there. This is generally not that good for black to do. So even if you jump, there's Aji. But if you just play a almost flat move like this almost feels too unsatisfactory. Yeah, just feels way too small. So black doesn't really have a nice move here to fix. So it's preventing that. But what it's also preventing is if white comes in directly. Because, and this happens a lot in handicap games, and I play a lot of handicap games, so I'm well versed in this, is when white is coming in between a corner and a side stone, so here we're talking about Q16 and R11, it's good for black to want to attack this. That is the right thing to do. But black will often get caught up in the attack and forget to help the R11 stone. So what I mean by that is this is very hypothetical. Let's say black wants to attack white, right? So black's, going, okay, I'm going to attack you, right? I don't know. Let's say black does this, something like this. Sure, right? Well, black might think black's attacking, and you are attacking. But what you're also doing is you're making white stronger. So if white ever feels safe enough to Tenuki, all of a sudden, you are now, black that is, you are now the one getting counterattacked. So you have to be careful about when you're attacking. Okay, I can be counterattacked. But by having this stone here, there is less likely a chance for any sort of counterattacks. Even black could play strongly with this kind of move because black has already reinforced the R11 stone. So black actually isn't fighting over this side here, this small side between the 6th and 10th line. Black is actually helping all the way from the corner to R11 as well. So black is actually helping the entire right side here. So this move looks small, but it's actually preparing for any problems here, as well as preventing kind of a problem when white plays this approach move, or this side extension. And so white sees, and white knows that. White knows, okay, I can't really come in directly, so I'm going to shoulder hit. And again, we see, not that this is as less common as, let's say, the clamp at E3. This is still a less common move for the shoulder hit. Because what are the two moves you're taught, right? You're taught to either stand up or to crawl. Those are your two options. And in some cases, you can also pincer depending on what's on the board somehow. But when you don't want to give your opponent forcing moves, that's when you can slide on the second line. So again, just more options. More options is always good. And white says, okay, let me play on the left side. And black says, well, you played up top, so I'm going to get my response. And white says, yeah, you're right. Let me play in the upper right now. But again, white's playing playing lightly here. Because again, there's no chance for counterattack. If you just get heavy here, you're just going to get attacked. There's not much else going to happen, right? And we can see so far, both sides are doing a good job of keeping their groups strong. Keeping their groups from not being attacked, and giving up stones that are okay to be given up. So, yeah, white has to play lightly here, because again, if white just jumps in haphazardly, again, black is very strong here. So, yeah, black can counterattack here. And so, black plays here. And obviously, white doesn't want to block. So, if we're thinking about staying light here, where do you think white played next? Where do you think white plays next? Because again, whenever you play these kind of Sabaki invading stones and you want to stay light, you want to, remember, you want to stay light. You want to stay light. So you don't want stones that are touching, you don't want stones that are shared liberties, because every time you add stones, they're harder to give up. So where do you think white went? White played it again here. There's a lot of options. So even if Choi Jeong didn't play your move, doesn't mean your move's necessarily not the best move. Choi Jeong picked Q11. Q11 is such a cool move. Q11 is such a cool move. Yeah, and as black, remember, you do not want to, generally you don't want to hane, aka you do not want to give your opponent forcing moves. So black just simply pulls back like this. Just simply pulls back. Now white descends. Now white descends. Black pushes up there, and then white hanes. And again, we get into some very crazy go here, because white has a weak group here, right, on the right side. So I was like, okay, black's going to continue locally, and yeah, we'll go from there. But black says, I'm going to play here first. I'm going to invade your upper left. White, look, I'm getting into your upper left. And if white wanted to, white could just, I think, again, because this is a not so standard opening, I think B17 is the best move. Where if black plays C16, you can just hane underneath like this. Maybe just going here is good too. Again, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Regardless, black's going to play some move like this on the outside. And black's probably going to be able to live. So white just says, okay, you're going to invade my upper left. Okay, I'll just help my group on the right side. So white says, let me just live. And this is a very textbook sequence, which is nice to see at the top level, because sometimes the simple stuff gets lost as they get the higher up the ranks you go. But it's nice to see. This is a very textbook. How do you make life and death here? Just hane, hane once, hane twice, and then play the middle. But black says, well, you didn't answer me, so okay, I'll get my follow-up again. Is that the best move? I have no idea. I'm going to assume it is one of the best moves, I guess. But yeah, whether that's the exact best move, I'm not sure. Yeah, because c16 looks like, to me, the proper move, but not sure. But white says, okay, you're not going to give me that, then I'm going to Hane. Black Atars, and the black says, you know what? I got to help my group, because black does need to help the group again. Because white could, black could, white could counterattack now. So black has to be careful of their group. So black saves the group and lets white cut. And in response, black just says, okay, let me get my follow-up again. And here we can see why c18 is a nice response, is black wanted to get g17. Black wanted to get g17. So, and black's threatening to connect underneath. But yeah, just look how stubborn both players are, right? Like, black's like, oh, I'm invading your left side. White's like, oh, look, I'm making a base for my right side. Like, oh, now I'm living. Oh, look, now I'm threatening your upper right. And this is where you can get into Fudokawari, which is the exchange of territories. So that's where you'll see games where players will just seemingly trade territories seemingly out of nowhere. Now, in this case, this is very extreme, but this is still, possible, obviously. So black pincers, and white now plays on the bottom. So even this move, white ignores. Black cuts first. This is good timing. Black's planning on playing f2, but we cut first because white could technically fix now, or even now the 4 stones aren't valuable. So now white comes in, but black has prepared with g17, and white descends. Black extends along the side, and white kicks. And even here, even with this kick, it's good to know there are more options, because black descends. And the point of the dissension is black is more affecting the upper left white group with this move. And you can play the descent when you want to get in this area, but also when this tiger's mouth is not that important. Because that's kind of the main thing we're worried about, is this tiger's mouth. But in this case, it's not that important for white to get. White cuts, black pushes, and then Ataris. And then white covers there. Yep, this is a very important move to get, because if you do get something else, this move starts to have an effect on the P3 stone again, where there's Aji with S3. Moves like S3, I should say. Yeah, like if white plays somewhere else, moves like S3 start to work. And this is a, if you see this shape a lot, it's good just to know about S3. This is again where shape knowledge is not just, bamboo joints, tiger's mouths, that kind of thing. It's also these kind of shapes that appear almost naturally throughout the game, that are less common and definitely less defined, right? Like this shape does not have a name, so you just got to know it. But yeah, this move just works. So this move is preventing that kind of Aji. Black Ataris to help the group, and white clamp. So again, white is very much aware of the S3 Aji and wants to get rid of it. So black takes. Take is not small though, because you do get the Zatari. White attaches. This makes sense. Yeah, because I glossed over it, but the reason why black descends is because there is Aji here. For example, let's say black had just gone here, right? And then white did something else. With the stone at b15, c12 works very nicely. Where if white descends, black's able to jump out somehow. And yeah, white has to be careful here. White has 2 weak groups. So white is helping those groups, potential 2 groups, by attaching here. We can see white is now solidifying the left side, but black's solidifying the top. So black's not unhappy either. And we can see now black is starting to answer white. Black Ataris, always take the ko once. Even if you plan on not fighting this, which white is planning on not fighting this, white just takes it once. Always take the ko once. Make your opponent use a ko threat. Black gets set, and now black plays L2. And L2 is, again, a very cool move. And again, this is a shape that is uncommon, and doesn't have a name, but you just need to know it. Because the common move you might think about is L3, especially when you have this shape, right? It actually, we were talking about it earlier in the video, that you can connect under. Differences in this case is you actually can't connect under when they have this diagonal. Because when you try to Atari like this, you can see that you can't play at 04, it's already taken. So we can't play this move, but this move still works, and this move's very nice. This move's very nice. The idea is, if white comes out somehow, we play here. White can cut, and we can do this. In some cases, this is okay. In this case, we don't really get that much as black. If we could really use these two stones, this would be amazing, but we really can't use them that well. Instead, though, we can simply just Hane here. And again, white really doesn't want to fight a Ko here. This would be a very heavy Ko for white. Yeah, white would definitely lose something, you know, like black has, like throwing here. It's hard to hard to answer that as white, because again, if you do, look how much white can lose on the bottom. Look how much white can lose on the bottom. So, yeah. So if white just connects, though, we can see black's very easily able to make some sort of light shape on the bottom that makes I shape. So that's the idea with L2. So always remember, whenever you want to invade an area, don't just plop a stone down and hope for the best. You need to have follow-ups in mind. You need to have follow-ups in mind. So that's why white kicks to prevent M2. And then black, again, plays, we've seen twice now, black plays kind of the not as common moves against the kicks as we're used to seeing, right? Again, normally we see just standing up to the kick, but this is heavy. This is heavy. We saw it on the left side too, where in response, black descended as opposed to standing up. But the nice thing about this move as well is now this works, because it's very cool, but it looks very similar to this shape here, where before black couldn't connect under, but now in this case, this would just end up working somehow for black. This would end up working somehow for black. So, yeah. That's also why this move is nice. So black plays here. This is, again, a very nice shape move to play. We want to play here, but obviously we're going to get Atari'd. So black plays here, threatening to play M3 next. And M3 is giant. So there's no other move for white but to play here. Because what if you, I don't know, try to come out, do something, this move, you can see how much it helps black shape. And it's sente, basically. So plays here, black pulls back. And then white plays here. And then black plays here. This is a very subtly good move. When I first saw this, I was like, black, you really need to help your bottom side, right? You really need to help your bottom side. But as I digested it more, dissected it, I was like, oh, okay, I see now. Because I would really want to play a move like J2, because you'll see white ends up getting J2 and ends up capturing some stones on the bottom. So playing J2 for black would threaten to connect under, but also make an I space, make an I potentially, and you can still run out. But there's Aji on the left side here, where white can clamp here. This is very nasty, because if you just take, it's not even Ko like this. Not that Ko would be good for black, but white can actually just stand up like this, and it's not a Ko. If black ever tries to extend, though, we can see you run out of liberties on the two stones here. So these two stones are going to get captured, or if you try to fight, yeah, probably push once more. Or actually, oops, sorry. Just Atari like this, because this Atari is threatening to capture here. So, yes. So black has to play a move to fix that. Black has to play a move to fix that, so black plays there. But now black has actually fixed it. There is no Aji there now. So now I really think black should come out now. Because when black extends here, white gets J2, black has to run, and white's able to capture the stone at L2, which is not small. Which is not small. And black tries to play this. A little late for that, no. Connects, and then jumps. So again, if you are going to play this move at G8, you gotta get your follow-up. So at least black does get the follow-up here. Like so. And white says, let me just turn and capture. Black Hane's here. This is a nice endgame move because they're still throwing Aji at S14, so white does need to be careful. White takes. Black pushes. We do get a ko here. Like that. So our ko threats. Black has a lot of ko threats on the bottom side. This is a nice threat. White turns. Idea with this move is, yes, black you can throw in, but I'm just going to take. And even if you end up winning this ko, like let's say black plays this as a threat, I'm still going to be able to connect because I can capture these two stones. That's the idea. So black just plays elsewhere and goes there. White fixes. Black turns. And then white Atari. So now white is fixing this problem directly. Atari. But yeah, all of a sudden we're in endgame. And who do you think is better here? Who would you like to be? Yeah, because right now black is a little behind by... Yeah, black's a little behind. It really will come down to the center, though, as we'll see. So white peeps, and then Hanes, and then black does something I was not expecting, I guess is the best way to put it. Black Atari's here, because black knows this is not good enough if I just go here. So black Atari's and pushes through. And the idea with this is I'm threatened to connect again. Because before it was a ladder, right? If I connect, it's a ladder. But as soon as I get this move, it's not a ladder. Now, the reason why black pushed first, though, is this Atari threatens and see doesn't really gain much. So black has to push through first. So white takes. And the thing is, though, how could you kill this Ponuki? And that was kind of black's problem here. Is black couldn't find a way to kill this Ponuki. Black tries to lead, but white can just jump. Black time Suji. Pushes through, and white just connects. Because, yeah, even if you can push through here and cut, just white has enough stones in the area to make all this meaningless. White can connect back to here, to the left side. So black's playing here first before doing all that. Black there. White fixes. Hane. So again, black is getting some compensation. But technically so is white, because white was able to capture this stone here. Push through. Hane. It's a very nice optimization where if you just play here, black's able to get B17 and get a little more points. But by playing the empty triangle, now you've reduced black's potential or points just a little bit. Black plays there. This is a big move. White plays there. Cuts. Tetsuji again. This is very nice. This is simply the mouth shape. So this is very nice. And this mouth shape does allow white to come out now. So black has to play here. Yeah, black has to play here. White can put there. Hane. And so basically once white's able to save these stones, white peeps and shoulder hits and covers. Black is now just too far behind because now the center is taken up and white's even the one making points there. So at this point, black resigns. Black's behind by around 10 points. But yeah, I really enjoyed just watching this game because just the decision making is so unique and different than what I usually see. So yeah, this game was super fun, and hopefully you thought it was fun too. Yeah, please let me know in the comments if any move, hopefully some of the moves, but if any of the moves were surprising to you or caught you off guard, or if you guessed any of the moves. But yeah, the best thing to take from this game, because again, a lot of this is situational and a lot of this is very high level. The thing you can take away is just there's always more options than what you consider. That's kind of the big takeaway. Whenever you are reviewing or watching pro games, you don't need to dissect every single move and be like, why did they play here in this case as opposed to this? Like, try to figure out every little nuance of every single move. No. Look for big picture things you can take. So for this game, for me, it was about taking Sente. It was about, even when I think I have to answer, well, actually, I don't have to. But yeah, super cool game with lots of super cool shapes. But yeah, leave a comment with what I said to do. What was it? Yeah, if you guessed any of the moves or any of the moves caught you off guard, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video.